Hello and welcome to the Arrowhead Addict podcast. I'm actually here with a special guest for a one-off episode. If you've been a fan of the Chiefs for longer than their current run of success, first of all, these are good times. But I'm happy to welcome Samie Parker, former wide receiver. You spent 4 years with the Kansas City Chiefs? Is that right, Samie?
Yeah, correct. 4 years.
How would you as you look back on that? How do you normally describe those years? By the way,
I would say it was a great time. I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed my time in Kansas City. Still frequently in Kansas City doing things. I have a daughter there, so I actually spent a lot of time there. And just recently left there about a year ago.
Okay, so it was even like home for you after your playing career.
Yep. Having a kid there, and just kind of being a part of development of some kids in the local area who are now going off to college to play football. Just being able to tutor those guys and kind of get them developed and get them a free education or somewhat free for some of the other guys.
Man, that's great. I'd love to hear more about that and like what you've been up to post NFL career, things like that. But first of all, I'd just love to reflect on like right now, everyone's like back in training camp. The Chiefs are at St. Joseph doing their thing. Like how much of those memories do you remember? Like, are you glad you're no longer in training camp working out with pads in 100-degree heat?
No, it was great. I really enjoyed that part of it. We were actually in Wisconsin. We were in River Falls, Wisconsin back in the day when I was there. They recently moved to Missouri, Mo West. So that I had a chance actually to do training camp with them a couple years ago. Tyreek Hill and Robinson, their first year with the Chiefs. I got a chance to work with those guys, doing an internship with those guys in the summer with Cully and Coach Reed and Eric Bieniemy and all those guys. So it was great. It's a great experience, and I really enjoy being out there and coaching and learning and developing, some of those guys and kind of see what they have flourished into now, all aspects of player-wise and coaching-wise. So it was really great. You can see Nagy working with him before he, a year later took the head coaching job with the Bears. So it was great just to kind of work, hand in hand with a lot of those guys and kind of see, kind of where they catapulted to and, in the coaching realm and as well as the player realm.
Yeah, that's a lot. That particular year, there's a lot of head coaches and probably future head coaches. You'll probably look back at that staff and go, man, how many franchises end up hiring out of, like you mentioned, David Culley and some of those others, so much experience.
Yeah. Definitely. I mean, Andy Reid has a great coaching tree who worked under him, who are now head coaches. And it's been great to, kind of, learn from what Andy's been, doing. And I'm, proud to be a Chief and to be able to, had a chance to kind of learn under him and see some things.
Samie, I'd love to get you to reflect on the memory. You were a 4th-round pick in 2004, right?
Right.
What was that first training camp? I mean, as you're trying to like navigate your own way, like all the expectations of like, I want to be a pro athlete, like growing up, like every kid or most kids would say, you're trying to make that happen. You said you're off to River Falls. I mean, like, does it feel like a whirlwind? Is it hard to like identify specific memories or do you remember all that pretty well?
Yeah, it definitely was a whirlwind. I mean, just trying to pick up the offense at that time. We were in a number system, so we had a lot of movement and things like that in our play calls. But just being a part of that, that culture and that team that we had a really, great group of guys who a lot of them are in the Hall of Fame now. And I had a chance to work with those guys. And obviously, coming off, they were off, I believe that was a 10-6 season. The year, 13-3 season. And that's when they had to shoot out with Indy the year before. So I was excited to, get in there and work with those guys and like, hey, man, this is going to be a Super Bowl run. And, we came up a little bit short. But I think just being in that group and that crowd, just learning from those veteran guys on the offensive side and then the defensive side, just being able to compete with those guys and just knowing what the ceiling was and what the standard was, it was great. And I really enjoyed that. And, at first it was kind of little, I had a nagging hamstring injury, kind of coming out of into the training camp. So it kind of slowed me down a little bit, but I kind of got my opportunity to play and show what I can do towards the later part of the season. Last final 4 games, I was able to display some stuff that I was able to bring to the table for us.
A lot of guys talk about how the game slows down for them. Like after a year in the system, you hear Nick Bolton talk about that. You hear Creed Humphrey talk about like some of these second year guys. Is that pretty true across the board? I mean, do you remember that for you, like having that experience in your back pocket, then being able to come back and like maybe for some of those guys who are now in training camp, but what was the difference for you?
Yeah, I think the second year is obviously, the year because you have to get all the stuff that you learned for the past 3, 4, 5 years, depending on what, how long it took you to get out of college, to get to that professional level, to get all that information that you took in for the last 3, 4, 5 years, be able to get that out and then get the new information in and be able to get up to speed. I think that was kind of the biggest thing. But once that second year really, hit, you kind of in stride and you kind of know where you need to be and all those different things on all different aspects. Guys, probably show up late or, different things like that. It's that kind of their first year because they're not really used to being a professional and things like that. But then also you get not, I don't want to call it hazing, but you'll get, your veterans who, would like you to pick up extra things to you before you come to practice or go to the game and things like that. Hey, we want to make sure we get our chicken or, we on Saturday, we want this type of breakfast before, that practice starts. So you have to, grab those things before you come in. So just better make sure you manage your time and those things like that.
Did you have quite a bit of that for you, your rookie year?
It wasn't too bad because it was two of us receivers that got drafted that year. So we will split it up. One person would do one thing and the next person would do the other thing. So it was good. So we were able to split the duties and we got it done in a timely fashion.
Who was hardest on rookies, by the way?
They weren't really hard. You know what I mean? It was like I said, we had a really good group of people. I mean, it was very minimal stuff that they had us do, but what I mean? It kind of took us out the way extra, 15, 20 minutes. But, at the end of the day, it was nothing, too strenuous where it's like, man, why are they doing this to us or anything like that? It was just like, hey, make sure you grab these donuts or make sure you grab that breakfast. I want the banana, banana pancakes or, just like little stuff like that. It wasn't nothing crazy or anything like that. So that some people may have to do.
You spent 4 years there with the Chiefs. It's a lot of game experience. I'm curious what your most, do you have a proudest on-field moment, like for you personally in that span of time?
Proudest moment. I mean, honestly, just, for me, it'll probably be like scoring my first touchdown. I think that was, that kind of really big relief. And, getting to do that against Denver, it was, in Kansas City at home. It was like a 47-yard touchdown. And it's crazy. Like, to this day, I think Dick Vermeil still remember that play. I ran into him several years after me even playing. My brother actually was, getting an opportunity to try out for getting ready to go to the NFL draft. And I walked up to him and Dick Vermeil had an all-star game in Los Angeles. And I was like, we started talking. He was like, hey, do you remember this play? And he called the play and everything. And I was like, man, that's crazy. You know what I mean? Shout out to Coach Dick Vermeil, who's getting inducted to the NFL Hall of Fame next week or this week. So that's really big. You know what I mean? Like I said, just our whole staff and our coaching staff and our players, like the amount of talent and experience that we had in there and Hall of Fame experience is crazy that we had on that team that year.
How much of your own, I'm jumping forward a little bit here, but how much of your own sort of coaching demeanor, attitude, goals, et cetera, how much do you think about like a coach like Vermeil as you do what you do today?
I think a lot about that type of stuff. You know what I mean? Just being able to connect with these guys and kind of push them to the limit. Between Dick Vermeil, Al Saunders, Charlie Joyner, those guys, and then the other people that I've worked with, Cully, and just kind of taking a little bit of each of them and kind of implementing into what I see myself being in the long run. Obviously still growing in what I do. So it's been great so far just to kind of put, a little bit of this, a little bit of that into the pot and kind of mixing it all up.
Yeah, I'd love to know, like when was your first when did it first strike you? Like, did you know all along that you would want to continue a career in football even after you're done playing in football? Did you always have a passion for coaching, or does that come later on when you're done playing?
It came later on. I was just, at that point, I was done playing, and I was just, kind of just hanging out. And I would always run into people, and people would always ask me like to train their kids. Hey, can you train my kid? Hey, can you train my kid? And I was like, you never, I really took heed to it. And I was like, man, then I started doing it and kind of seeing the way that they flourish and do things that, they put them ahead of the curve. And, and talking to those guys and talking to those parents. And it was like, man, thank you so much. And I was like, man, this might be my calling, just to be able to, share that experience that I've had and get them up to speed or get them advanced into the, the field that they're going to head into to prepare them for the next level, whether it's, going into college, going into the high school, getting ready for the, their next upcoming season, or preparing them for getting an opportunity to go to college. And that's been like kind of my biggest thing, just kind of preparing those guys and trying to get them an opportunity to get to college. I want to get in front of college coaches and things like that, being able to display, some good stuff. And they're like, hey, where'd you guys learn this at? Or you're already pretty advanced. Like, who do you train with? And then at that point, they were like, hey, we train with Samie Parker, former Chief. And they were like, oh my God, okay. Like, no wonder you're, kind of where you're at. So it was great. To kind of hear those results and things like that they were compliments that they were giving me. So I was like, man, this is it, So just kind of took off from there. Started off at Mid-America Nazarene down in Kansas. Went back, got my degree, and then went off to Fort Valley State down in Georgia. Then went back to Long Beach Poly High School. And then came back and then kind of started my own program in the Kansas City area, Empire 7v7. Which pretty much like a flag football thing. Been able to, kind of develop and work with some kids there in the local area who, kind of taking off to be national recruits and going off to college. Arlen Bruce, who's at Iowa right now, played last year as a true freshman. Jalen Knoll, who went to Park Hill, was at Iowa State, played as a true freshman. J. Michael Sturdivant, who's now at Cal. Moody Rubin, who was just a freakish guy who was a soccer player, never played football before, and just kind of came to a couple events that I had and we're training him. And he ended up getting his first scholarship offer before he even put a helmet on. Now he's, headed off to Stanford. Tim Dorsey, who's at Illinois State. Henry Martin going to Northwest Missouri State. He was a Kansas passing leader in history now. He set that record. Makai Miller going off to Mizzou. And the list just go on and on, man. It's been a great deal. Worked with Desan and Dave McCullough, who were, the McCullough, running back coach used to be for the Chiefs. Worked with those and worked with him, worked with those guys. One is going off to Indiana now, and then the one is still in high school right now. He just committed to Cincinnati. And just kind of seeing, like, Dylan Edwards, who was committed to Kansas State, who just decommitted, but he's a national recruit. Jaden Doss. I mean, the list is going on of guys who, I got a chance to develop and work with. And then, just seeing what they've, kind of jumped and being able to do that first and second year in college is kind of exciting.
Man, congrats on that, by the way.
I appreciate it.
Hey, Samie, I'd love to jump back just a little bit, because some of the players I talked to, I think if they're honest, and I mean, I'm not saying others are dishonest, but they talk about, like, hey, man, it's really difficult to walk away from the game, because normally a player doesn't say goodbye to the game on his own terms. The game is kind of cruel in the way that it shows you it's done. Definitely. And I guess I wonder for you, after 4 years in Kansas City, can you look back and maybe take us through, like, what were you facing at that point when the rookie deal's over? And what's it like sort of thinking about life beyond that? Or did it take you some time?
Yeah, definitely. It definitely took me a long time to kind of get over not being able to do what I do. Kind of bouncing around from team to team to team. And just trying to figure out what was my next step, what was the next hurdle, being there, and then after there going to Denver, and then going to Seattle, then going to Oakland, then going to Carolina, and then, then going to the UFL, which was a startup league, kind of similar to the USFL, but had really great coaches and really great players. Some players still playing. Some coaches kind of got their first starts there, like the McVays and those guys. They were coaching in that league. John Gruden's brother, he was there as a coach, and then next thing you know, he goes to the Bengals as offensive coordinator, and then becomes a head coach. So it was a great development system for 3 years. I worked. We got coached by John Fossil, rest in peace. Dennis Green was there. I mean, it was just I can't think of that. Marty Schottenheimer came through. Terry Shea. It was just a bunch of former NFL coaches and players. There's Dante Culpepper, Jeff Garcia, Maurice Claret, and, guys that, kind of were, big deals at some point. We're all in that league trying to get another opportunity to jump back in the NFL. So just being able to walk away from it was definitely difficult because, for me, I felt I still had more to give. I feel like I didn't get a chance to, do everything I could have done, or at least I thought I could have did in Kansas City. And I still thought I had a lot more to show and just wanted the right opportunity to see, to display that. And then, went and did what is called combine, national combine deal. And then at 31, still be able to run 4.3, 4.4, low 4.4. So, people were like, oh, he lost a step, and then being able to go, go and do that. And then Gil Brandt did a write-up at that time, was like, hey, this guy, said the shocker at this camp right now is Samie Parker, who's, currently in the UFL. Who just ran, a low 4.4, high 4.3, at his age, people kind of counting him out. But, like I said, people were thinking I had lost a step, but I never lost a step. It was just, maybe just a different realm of, what they were looking for or something like that. So just being able to try to get that next opportunity, it was very difficult to get, it's kind of a hard league to kind of stay in, stay in, the typical lifespan of a NFL player is typically 3 years. So being able to make it 4, obviously I passed a curve that a lot of people didn't. But definitely wanted to get more out of, what I did. And I felt like I had more to give, but, obviously the thing it didn't end on my terms, but it was definitely a good experience, to say the least.
Yeah. You're with the Owls now, right? You're coaching at Rice?
Yeah.
How does that, where does Rice come into play for you?
So I'm a quality control, helping working with the receivers here at Rice. So I'm actually working here with a couple of former NFL players as well. I was a coordinator and kind of helped, get me in here. Marcus Tuiasosopo will play with the Raiders. And then our head coach, Mike Bloomgren, he coached for the New York Jets. He was quality control coach with the Jets for like 2-3 years. And then Brian Smith, who was, him and Coach Bloomgren both worked with the Jets at the same time, and he played 2 years as well. And then we have C.J. Anderson here as well, who played with the Broncos, with the Rams, Super Bowl. Yeah, so we got a great group of guys, NFL experience here at Rice. So just kind of putting these different things together, man, and looking forward to kind of making this thing go. Got a big time player out of Kansas City, here, McKenna. Who's going to be high on some guys' draft boards coming off the D line here in the future. Next year he'll be in the draft. So hopefully maybe Kansas City might be home again for him. But it's going to be great getting a chance to kind of work with these guys and kind of push these guys to the limit, and hopefully we'll take this thing to a bowl game and do some really good stuff.
Yeah. So you're at Rice now, leaning further into coaching.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure coaching can be all-consuming, or will take anything that you give it. But what else are you up to off the field these days? What else holds your interest?
Man, so I spend a lot of time. Whenever I get some off time, I usually shit out to Kansas City. So my daughter is in the Kansas City area, and she's in 9th, going to the 10th grade. Okay. So I usually spend time there. If I'm not here. She's a great track star and basketball player. She went to state in track this year, first time running the 300 hurdles. Unfortunately, nice. In the prelim, she hit the final hurdle to make it to the state finals as a 9th grader, which was great. She was a top 10 person in her event in the 300 hurdles, and also a long jumper. Then she played basketball, played varsity as a freshman last year. So, just, spending time with her and, and and watching her success and, rooting her on and things like that. So that's been great just to kind of see what she's doing. And, and she has a great, family with, family genes, between me and the other side. Her uncle, Earl Watson, played in the NBA and things like that. Now he coaches for the Raptors. Between the two of us, I think we, kind of mix some good genes, and just kind of looking forward to, kind of seeing her, kind of her process and, kind of helping her out down the line when it gets her, a chance to kind of, figure out what she wants to do. And, so hopefully, it's going to be some college going to come knocking off her opportunity to attend school for free. That'd be great. Great. And, she's a great young lady and academically and, physically and socially and all that different stuff. So just being there, spend time with her is, kind of the other thing that I do outside of football at the moment.
Yeah. And by the way, if you're that connected to KC, how much do you keep up with, like, are you a constant watcher of the Chiefs? I mean, or do you keep like pretty close watch on what they're doing, the moves they make?
Yeah, definitely. Always watch the Chiefs. Every time I get a chance, I'm watching those guys. If we're not playing, I'm, definitely cheering them on, especially every Sunday. I usually, we come into our meeting rooms. I was at Washington State last year, and every Sunday I would go into, when we had to go watch breakdown film and things like that, I would definitely walk in there with my Chiefs red on, and rooting them on. So definitely we'll be doing the same thing here. And, obviously we'll be bumping heads with a couple other guys. We got a Bronco in here and we got a Raider in here and a couple of Jets. So we'll bump heads and we'll have some AFC West talks, so definitely, I'm sure.
By the way, you said Washington State. That's Jalen Watson, right? So
yeah. So I was with Jalen Watson last year at Washington State. Just watching him and kind of see what he does, and and hopefully he get a chance to kind of make the team and contribute for us in some fashion.
Well, I want to respect your time here, so I'll end with the following. What's your? I'd love to hear your prediction for, like, how far does this Chiefs team go this year?
I think it's gonna be great. We got it's gonna be tough. Obviously, in the AFC West, I think since some other teams picked up some really good players, and obviously we lost a couple key key players for us, and the Honey Badger and Tyreek. But I think we got a couple guys that kind of help us on the back end, and looking forward for I believe it was Trent McDuffie we drafted in early, right? DB. Mm-hmm. With Trent. Yeah, so we drafted Trent. Yeah. So I think that was really big for us to get somebody out there to, kind of help on that island. I think we struggled outside a little bit, I think, with him and hopefully Jalen and then Justin Reed. Hopefully those guys tighten up on that back end for us. I believe we got, was it Carlos Dunlap, and then I think we'll be able to get to the passer a little bit more. So I really look forward to, some of the great things our defense is going to be able to do. And then looking forward to seeing what Juju brings to the table for us, and Sky as well. Me and Juju went to the same high school, Long Beach Poly, and then he went to USC. So obviously I'm going to be rooting for him. I want him to do great. And, hopefully, he's over the injury bug that he's had the last few years and be able to be a productive receiver as he has been in the past. And then the guy, Marquez from that was in Green Bay.
Yeah, Marquez Scantling.
Yeah. So looking forward for him, and then obviously Sky, bring him in some fashion and let him do some things. But I think we have a really, really good core group of guys, and then we got Kelsey, obviously, and then having Orlando back. I think they're finally getting him back out there. Hopefully they get that deal worked out where they can get him under contract. Obviously playing the franchise tag, but I think I think I'm seeing I say 10-6 this year.
Okay. How far in the playoffs?
Oh man, obviously I'm going for we going to the championship, and obviously that's what my thoughts are every single time. We gotta really dig down. I mean, we got, like I said, they got some pass rushers in our conference now, and they go. I think it's the Raiders or no, the Chargers. The Chargers got a really good front seven. They're gonna be getting after a good quarterback and Justin Herbert. And Keenan Allen, some good pieces over there. So obviously, like I said, our AFC West is going to be definitely, it's going to be a dogfight in there, and which we've been running through, in the past couple of years. I think it's going to be, it's going to prepare us for the long run and, get us a good chance to, do some stuff in the playoffs.
Yeah. Well, Sammy, so appreciate your time. Thanks so much for sitting down with us, and congratulations on the success.
Thank you. I appreciate it.